Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Raymond Yeung. Here are tonight's top stories. Customs officers confiscate $200 million worth of items and arrest 5 people. China and Australia begin process to improve relations. And Argentina's World Cup victory parade turns chaotic. Customs officers have seized items worth $200 million in the second largest sea smuggling case this year. They also arrested 5 men on suspicion of evading tax of over $130 million. Joanna Ho reports.
The smuggled goods found in 9 containers included red wine, electronic devices, and dried seafood. There were also over 70,000 vinyl music records and 2,000 boxes of medicines of an unknown origin believed to be used for treating strokes. All the items were on board 2 mainland-bound vessels checked by customs at the Kuaiting container terminals in the middle of this month. One ship was due to sail to Shanghai and the other to Yiwu. Officers conducted X-ray scanning for both ships after realizing that the mainland is a major exporter of the plastic granules, clothes, and household products, which the vessels claimed they were carrying. While both vessels did have the goods as stated in their declarations, smuggled items were found in 9 containers. They were packed in boxes wrapped with plastic tape, with most hidden behind packages of plastic granules. 5 men, including the directors of the shipper and people who arranged the shipment, were arrested. They would have escaped paying over $130 million in tax if the smuggling had been successful, said Divisional Commander Lo Xiu-Fai.
內地市民開始準備辦年貨過年，因此對貴價嘅海味呢，亦都有一定嘅需求。
Lo believed that the smugglers were trying to cash in on the increasing demand for dried seafood on the mainland as the Lunar New Year approaches.
內地呢有好多係專門播黑膠唱片嘅咖啡店嘅。
Raymond Yeung, acting group head of the Special Investigation Division, noted a growing trend of playing vinyl albums in mainland coffee shops. He added that in recent years, smugglers have reduced the quantity of goods shipped each time in a bid to avoid detection. Joanna Ho, HKIBC.
Hong Kong's top lawmaker in the National People's Congress believes residents will soon no longer have to serve quarantine when they travel to the mainland. Tam Yiu-chung made the comments before boarding a flight to Beijing for the NPC Standing Committee meeting next week. He said preparations are underway to minimize disruptions caused by a surge in travelers. Tam was on the same flight as Chief Executive John Lee, who embarked on his maiden duty visit to the capital. Lee pledged to relay people's wish of quarantine-free travel. Meanwhile, Hong Kong satellite television cited sources as saying that from next Tuesday, travelers to the mainland will no longer have to spend 8 days of isolation, no matter where they come from. Shoppers will have to pay double for plastic bags starting on the last day of this year. The cost goes up to $1, and bags to contain frozen and chilled food will no longer be free. But the Environmental Protection Department said shoppers do not have to pay for plastic bags to carry loose fruit, even those that are half covered by foam wrappers. Retailers who break the law face a $2,000 fine after a grace period.
During the first month grace period, what we'll focus, we will give advice or give verbal warning to anyone who's breaking the law. Instead of really prosecuting the retailers. But of course, if during that 1 month period we found some retailers who are like repeated offenders, then of course we may consider launching a prosecution.
The Department of Justice will have to fork out more than $850,000 to Jimmy Live for twice trying to throw out the Media Tycoons Council. The High Court had earlier ruled that British barrister Tim Owen could represent Lai in his sedition trial. The department launched 2 appeals but failed in both attempts. However, High Court Judge Thomas Au agreed that Lai couldn't justify hiring 4 counsel in the proceedings and granted costs for only 2. The case has been adjourned until September after the government sought clarification from Beijing on whether foreign lawyers can take part in trials involving state secrets. A woman has been jailed for 1 year for trying to help her boyfriend flee Hong Kong after he stabbed a police officer. Also in the district court, a nurse was acquitted of rioting during the social unrest, with the judge saying the testimony of 2 officers did not match. Macy Mock reports.
The district court sentenced engineer Zheng Zixing to 1 year in jail after she was convicted of perverting the course of justice. The 26-year-old had helped her boyfriend Wang Quanhua try to escape from Hong Kong 2 years ago after he stabbed a policeman in the arm. Wang's attempt was unsuccessful as he was arrested shortly before his plane took off for London. Zheng had bought a ticket for Wang for a flight from London to Taiwan. The same court acquitted 40-year-old nurse Leung Kin Man of rioting in Tuen Mun on National Day in 2019. In a written judgment, Deputy Judge Zhang Lim-chi said the place Leung was arrested was not a riot zone. Zhang said he could not be sure that the unlawful assembly was a riot because the testimony of 2 police witnesses did not match. Meanwhile, Zhang Ziho, one of 12 Hong Kongers detained by mainland authorities while trying to flee to Taiwan, was freed pending his appeal, after being behind bars for more than a year and a half on both sides of the border. The High Court granted him bail as he awaits the results of his appeal against his 28-month jail term for storing materials to make petrol bombs. Zhang argued that he would have received a shorter sentence had the judge known that he had completed a 10-month term for trying to flee Hong Kong. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Hong Kong Disneyland has welcomed the decision to drop the cap on the number of visitors to theme parks from tomorrow.
Any news of relaxation is good, and we expect that this will certainly attract more guests from both local and inbound tourism. In addition, not just to mainland China, we also have seen guests come from around the world, including Australia, Philippines, Singapore, all coming back to Hong Kong as they want Hong Kong Disneyland to be the first thing that they do when they travel here.
Moriarty said he's excited to be working closely again with the Hong Kong Tourism Board, travel agents, and other players in the tourism industry. He pledged to work hard to bring tourists back to the city. China and Australia have taken a major step towards mending their tattered relations, with President Xi Jinping proposing a strategic partnership. This came as the foreign ministers of the 2 countries opened talks in Beijing on the 50th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations. Asam Khan reports.
Australian Foreign Minister Penny Wong landed in Beijing earlier today, marking the first visit to China by a senior leader from Canberra in more than 3 years. In the lead-up to the visit, President Xi Jinping and Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese exchanged congratulatory messages to mark the 50th anniversary of the establishment of ties between the 2 countries. Xi said he will work to promote a comprehensive strategic partnership, adding that he places great emphasis on the development of relations between the 2 countries. That message was reinforced when Penny Wong met her Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi.
When we last spoke, State Councillor, you said, a sound Australia-China relationship is not in contradiction with safeguarding national interests. I agree. We can grow our bilateral relationship and uphold both of our national interests if both countries navigate our differences wisely.
Wang Yi said a healthy and stable China-Australia comprehensive strategic partnership is in the best interest of both sides and the region. The visit hopes to thaw a relationship that took a nosedive in 2019, resulting in China slapping sanctions on $20 billion worth of Australian goods. Australia, meanwhile, joined Britain and the United States in a military pact, which includes providing Canberra with nuclear submarines as part of a containment policy against China. Azam Khan, HKIBC.
Overseas, the United Nations has joined in the chorus of condemnation after women in Afghanistan were banned from university. Even some Afghan clerics close to the country's Taliban rulers denounced the decision by the higher education minister.
This decision is extremely unpopular among Afghan and even within the Taliban leadership. It has been criticized by the entire Islamic world. It has undermined the Taliban's relationship with the international community, but it remains in force, causing damage today that will be felt long into the future.
The ban further restricts women's education. Girls have already been excluded from secondary schools since the Taliban returned to power last year. The decision outraged female Afghan students. A small group who protested in Kabul said they felt their dreams had been destroyed, but they will not give up hope. Tycoon Elon Musk says he will resign as chief executive of Twitter as soon as a successor is found.
Yeah, I think Twitter needs a brand name, someone with social media background, someone that has, I think, validation within Silicon Valley. Yeah, I think Musk's biggest problem is a lot of times he speaks before he thinks through it. And ultimately, advertisers have run for the hills. And that's more red ink for Musk, which he needs to fund. And I think he's looking for some way to get out of this quicksand situation that he ultimately created.
Musk's management of the social media giant has been marked by controversy since its $44 billion takeover in October. In an online poll that he initiated, 57.5% of the respondents said he should go. The billionaire accepted the result, but vowed to continue running important units, just as he does at his other major company, Tesla. The Hong Kong stock market edged up slightly today on upbeat investor sentiment. Speculation that China will step up efforts to support the pandemic-affected economy lifted the Hang Seng Index. But conglomerate New World Development dropped 2% after deciding to buy back its bonds ahead of the maturity date. Ali Health, which gained 2.1%, and Wuxi Biologics, which rose 2.5%, led the charge for healthcare products, which are currently in high demand on the mainland. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng ended the day up by 65 points. The top 10 active stocks, Tencent picked up $1.60, the Tracker Fund up 8 cents, while Alibaba was up 40 cents. AIA Insurance was down 35 cents, but Ping An Insurance picked up 75 cents. To the forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro is at 8.26, the pound sterling 9.42, while the Australian dollar at 5.21. Over in Europe, the London FTSE is currently up by nearly 63 points. On to the weather now. Despite plenty of sunshine, it will be cold tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 13 and 19 degrees. The fine and dry weather will continue for the next few days. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Wednesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Raymond Yeung. Good night.